So, I have a real life boyfriend, but I have quite a few fictional boyfriends as well. Hello, my name is Myra. Welcome to another video. So like the title suggests, today I wanted to talk about some of my book boyfriends. These are the men that, if they existed, would be a danger to other existing men because a lot of people would want them. So anyway, it's gonna be up until whatever I've read to April 2024. So this list will change. I'm sure people will probably get moved up. Some people might get removed. You never know. But this is my top 10 list that I just kind of put together. So at number 10, I have to start with the classic. And that would be Edward from Twilight. Now I know that this isn't Twilight. This is my copy of Midnight Sun, which is Twilight from Edward's perspective. I have no idea where my Twilight copy is. I'm 99% sure it's in storage. But Edward, if you haven't read Twilight, I mean, this came back out like in 2006, I think, maybe even earlier. And Edward is a vampire who falls in love with a human. And compared to everything that I've read right now, I'm sure he might not even be on people's lists anymore. But for me, it's more of like an emotional thing. That's really one of the books that got me into reading as a teenager by myself, as in like not school mandated reading or anything like that. So Edward still holds a special place in my heart. He's still gonna be considered a book boyfriend because that's really where everything started, before the movies even came out. Obviously, I do love Robert Pattinson. I feel like he did a great job. The first movie, I know a lot of people make fun of it, but listen, their budget was limited, okay? They didn't know if the movie was gonna do well or not. And if you notice, the graphics and stuff got better and better. So anyway, Edward, number 10. Number 9, I have someone totally different, and that would be Cade from Heartless by Elsie Silver. Cade, if you've read Heartless, is a single dad of a 5-year-old boy, and in his book, he basically is trying to find a nanny for his 5-year-old because the woman who was taking care of his son is older. She's not really able to take care of him because, again, he's a 5-year-old boy. He has a ton of energy. And so he's struggling to find a babysitter because a lot of the people that he's interviewing are hitting on him. And he's like, I don't need someone that's gonna be interested in me. I just need someone to be here and watch my son and take care of him. And he ends up getting a reference from his brother's girlfriend to hire her best friend. And so he ends up setting up an interview with her. But prior to him meeting her, he meets this really interesting and attractive woman at a coffee shop, and it turns out that this is the woman who is the best friend of his brother's girlfriend and who wants to interview as the live-in nanny position. And of course, he's very attracted to her, and he right away is like, hell no, like this is not gonna happen. But his 5-year-old son falls in love with her, and so he's kind of like, you know what, I'm running out of time, my son loves her, I might as well give her a chance. And so she is a live-in nanny, and you have this whole forced proximity thing that happens. But Cade is like such a loving dad. And as much as he's attracted to Willa, he is putting his son first and foremost. He's also this very attractive rancher. He has like the build of like this big, strong man, and it's all through manual labor. And he just, I don't know, he's like a sexy specimen of a man. And I feel like it's a little bit more realistic to like, you know, find a guy like that. So I don't know, he's my number 9. At number 8, I have a very new book boyfriend for me, and that would be Kai from Powerless by Lauren Roberts. So if you haven't read Powerless, it's essentially about a kingdom where there are people that are ordinary, meaning they don't have powers, and then there's the elites. Now, ordinaries are technically not supposed to exist anymore because the king a long time ago ordered for all the ordinaries to be basically banished from the kingdom, and if they refused to leave, if they tried staying there, then they would be unalived. Now, Kai is the son of the king, but he is second in line to the throne, so he has been trained his whole life to be an enforcer. Because he's been trained to be an enforcer for the king, obviously he's had to do a lot of physical training, both like in fighting and being able to unalive people in multiple ways. And he's just described as like this very attractive, physically fit hero. What I liked about him though, besides all of that, is the fact that he is still really protective of his brother, who happens to be first in line to the throne. And he knows that although he doesn't have a relationship with his dad, because his dad basically trained him to just be a killer, he prefers it be him than his brother. And not only that, he is going against some of his orders in order to help people that he shouldn't be helping. And so he does really have this big heart, besides the fact that, again, there's like so much to him that you end up finding out. You find out why he is the way that he is. And still, regardless of how much he's been basically broken down to just become this like cold-hearted killer, he still has a huge heart. And that's something that he struggles with, because he's like, I shouldn't even care anymore. I should just be a cold-blooded killer, but he's not. So that is why he is one of my book boyfriends. I can't wait for book number 2. I am so excited. But Kai, Powerless, he's on the list. At number 7, I have Miles from The Rebel by Sophie Lark. This is from the Kingmakers Academy. Now let me tell you, Sophie Lark does such a great job with her heroes. They are like these great men. Some of them are more morally gray than others, but they still all have their very great qualities. So it was kind of hard picking one, but I was like, I have to pick one. And the one that just has always stood out to me is Miles from The Rebel. Now this is a 2nd gen. So Brutal Birthright is the first series, and then their kids from that series, along with like other people, other characters that you meet, are in the Kingmakers Academy. So in The Rebel, you have Miles, and he's always done what he wants. He's always been like a hustler. He doesn't want to just depend on his family. He actually has his own dreams and things that he wants to do. And so that's kind of always how he's been. He's always been someone that just doesn't care, and he goes after what he wants. Now he ends up wanting Zoe, and the problem with that is that Zoe is from a mafia family who is basically arranged to marry someone from another mafia family. This was an arrangement that happened back when she was like 12 years old. At this point, they're like 18, 19 years old, and Zoe is not wanting to marry him, but she has no choice. Now at the academy, Zoe and Miles meet, and Miles is little by little just captivated by Zoe, and he ends up deciding she is not going to marry him. And that's that. And of course, in the mob, especially in the mafia, like when they have these arranged marriages, like these are to ensure like peace between two families. There's usually something to gain for both parties. So him trying to come into the middle of that from like a 3rd mafia family and just causing all this trouble is a huge no-no. But he's gonna go after Zoe because she's a woman that he wants to be with, and there's no one that's gonna get in his way. And I think that determination is what just made me so attracted to Miles, because he's not gonna give up. And it's like he's gonna go above and beyond and move the ocean if he has to in order to get her to be someone that he can be with. And it's such a great book. I freaking love him. Great job, Sophie. Number 6 on my list, I have the one and only Reese from Twisted Games. Twisted Games is my favorite book in the Twisted series by Anna Huang. This is actually one of the books that got me back into reading when I started reading a couple years ago, and Reese is my absolute favorite. If you haven't read Twisted Games, this is a bodyguard princess romance book. So it is forbidden. He's her bodyguard. They are not at the same level as far as like she's a princess, she's supposed to marry someone royal, she's supposed to be with someone royal, but he, without meaning to, ends up falling for the princess. Reese is like this ex-Navy SEAL, like he served in the military, he has a ton of training, so he's like this huge, big, broody, grumpy man. But little by little, Bridget just starts chipping and chipping and chipping away at his defenses. Now, what I liked about him is that he is a no BS type of man. He is just like, he does what he wants, but not in like a reckless way, because he definitely thinks about things through. But he's also very fiercely protective about people that he loves and people that he cares about. Of course, as he starts feeling more than a little bit protective of Bridget, he starts to say, you know what, I don't know what I have to do, but I need to figure some way out for me and her to be together, because I cannot stand the sight of seeing her with someone else. And I don't know, I think if you notice, I have like a little pattern about my heroes and why I choose them. But this is a 5-star book for me. Reading it was like so good, so fast. It's like a little bit over 400, it's like 415 pages, something like that. And if you haven't listened to this, oh my god, the audio is so freaking good. So I've talked about this book so many times, but Reese is my number 6. He's on there. He's on my top 10. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, 1 through 5 was hard. I was like, okay, actually no, number 1 was really easy. I'm like, number 1 was super easy, but the rest of them I was like, okay, how do I sort them? How do I sort them? And I finally came up with this order. Who knows, maybe on a different day, if you ask me, this order would kind of shift a little bit, with the exception of number 1. But currently at number 5, I have Johnny Kavanaugh from Binding 13. I just read this book. I'm about to finish Keeping 13 right now. And Johnny is the type of boy that I think any high school girl would have loved to date. I know I would have loved to date him in high school. He is just so mature, and he really puts the heroine first, as in he's not trying to pressure her to do things that hormones might want you to do. He's going, which first of all should always be the case, but sadly is not always the case. I knew people when I was in high school that would kind of do that. I've heard now that I'm like, obviously I've been out of high school for a while, but even, you know, with like teenagers that I know, that they still have friends whose boyfriends are trying to, you know, convince them to participate in adult activities that they might not be ready for, or that they're definitely not ready for. But he is just, again, the type of boy that I would have wanted to date if I was 18 years old. Now in Binding 13, I would definitely say check your trigger warnings. In fact, always check trigger warnings, because you never know. And it definitely is the reader's responsibility to be checking trigger warnings. That's just my opinion. But in this one, it is a sports romance. Johnny, he's a rugby player, and he's been training basically his whole life because he wants to be a professional rugby player in Ireland. Now he ends up meeting Shannon, who starts randomly on the 3rd year. That's what they call it in Ireland. So I think 3rd year is like a sophomore in high school, basically, in the US. So they meet when she's 15 going on 16, he's 17 going on 18, and that's where they meet. Now little by little they build this friendship, and as the friendship progresses, he ends up becoming like really protective and attracted to her. She is a very attractive girl, but he knows, okay, you know what, I'm about to turn 18 first of all. Also, I'm trying to go pro. I probably will be going pro. I don't have time for a girlfriend. I don't have time for distractions, so I'm not gonna do it. But as time goes on, he just can't seem to get away from her. He wants to be with her all the time. He wants to know her. He knows that there's something going on with her, and he just wants to help her. He wants to find out what it is, get to the bottom of it, and help her. And eventually, obviously, things get to be too much. He can't be away from her anymore, and he just has to be with her. And as he starts spending more and more time with her, both are going through their own struggles. She's there for him. She's getting a side of him out that he never had shared with other people, and he's getting stuff out of her that she's never seen. And without meaning to, they're both kind of each other's light through their own darkness and their own struggles that they're each going through. And just Johnny Kavanaugh is, again, he's the boy that any 18-year-old would want to date. At number 4, I have Homer, aka Spider, from Brutal Vows by J.T. Geisinger. This is one of my favorite mafia books. Probably, yeah, this is probably one of my like favorite mafia books, simply because of him. Now you do actually see Spider, well, everybody calls him Spider, I'm just gonna call him Spider. You do see Spider in book 2, that's where you meet him, and then you see more of him in book 3. So by the time that you get to his book, which is book 4, you're just cheering him on. You want him to have his happily ever after. You want him to be loved and the way that he deserves to be loved. In his book, it basically starts off with him telling his boss, who is the head of the Irish mob, listen, you need to arrange a marriage with the Italians. You need someone to marry into the family. Why not me? I'm second in command. I'm your right-hand person. I will marry into the family. I don't have to be in love. I'll do this for you, and I'll do this for like the wellness, you can say, of the mafia. Now his boss is like, are you sure? Like, I don't want you to do this. I can get somebody else to do it. And he's like, no, I'm sure. I have nothing to lose. He's kind of been like disillusioned. He doesn't think love is gonna be for him. So he's like, who cares? I'll marry whoever. Now when he goes to meet his fiance, he ends up actually being really intrigued by his fiance's aunt. And the aunt is more his age, because the fiance, she's like this younger teenage girl. She's like about to be 18. Like, they're gonna marry when she turns 18. But he's still like, okay, cool, like she's pretty or whatever, but I don't really care for her. But the aunt, on the other hand, he's like, oh no, this woman is like more my style. But he's like, whatever, like, I don't want to get involved with anyone. I'm gonna marry this girl. Who cares? It is what it is. Now things go down, and for XYZ reason, because I don't want to spoil it, they end up not really being able to marry. And he ends up having to marry someone else in the family, which ends up being the aunt. When they get married, he's like, listen, you're my wife, so like, we need to get down and dirty. And it is consensual, okay? She's attracted to him too, and she is actually a widow. So she's like, okay, whatever. Like, it is what it is. I don't care. But even though she supposedly doesn't care, she's still very attracted to him. And he's very attracted to her. Like, he's going based off of that. But as time goes on, they really start to build this like deeper connection. And he is just such a like sweetheart. Like, he's so loyal. He's so loving. He's so caring. She has her own demons too that she has to battle from like the past. And he helps her with those demons, and they kind of heal each other's heart. I don't know how to explain it, but just the way that he was so caring towards her, and he just was so considerate of her. It was just something that was like so attractive, and I'm just like, I'll marry into the freaking Irish mob. Like, I volunteer as tribute. It's okay. I'll do it. At number 3, I have Mr. Cassian from A Court of Silver Flames. If you know, you know. That's all I'm gonna say. But he is so patient throughout the series, and he is treated like crap from the woman that he's attracted to. And if you've read the series, you know who it is. And he is treated like crap, and he is not really like appreciated the way that he should be. And even in this book, it starts off pretty rough. The person that he's in love with, like, she's pretty much depressed. I mean, honestly, she's depressed, and she doesn't want to. She, again, treats him like dirt. And he's like, I'm not gonna give up on you, because you're treating me like this because you're hurting, and I'm gonna help you. And everybody else is leaving you alone and giving you your space, but that's not what you need right now. You need someone to kick your ass and like get you back on your feet. And that's what he does. And he is just such a like, oh my God, like, he's such a great guy, like such a great man. And he definitely does not deserve to be treated like that. And it can make you angry. You know, when you're reading it, you could get angry at the heroine. Like, really, dude? Like, this guy's a freaking sweetheart. He's such a good friend. He's so loyal. He would go above and beyond for his kingdom. Not his kingdom, his court. I'm just like, dude, like, really? So Cassian, oh my God. I would have mentioned Azrael too, but here's the thing. We haven't gotten his book. And I really, really hope that the next book in the ACOTAR series is gonna be his. He's definitely gonna be in there. And he definitely would have been someone that I added, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna add him yet until we get his book. So Sarah J Maas, I hope you're on it. And if you are, I love you. I'm so excited. Let us know when it's coming out, please, so I can get my pre-order in, and so I can make sure I have nothing going on that day, so I can just read that book. Thanks. At number 2, I have Mr. Xaden from Fourth Wing. If you haven't read Fourth Wing, I don't know where you've been, but Xaden from Fourth Wing, so sexy. First of all, there's so many secrets in this book, like the plot twists and things that you end up finding out. You're just like, what? Excuse me? But he's so funny, and like the banter between him and Violet, because they're natural enemies. And he's also, again, he's a wing leader. He's like this strong alpha man. And also he has such a great like heart as well. He's so loyal. He's looking out for other people. And that was something that I admired from his character, because he basically put his name on the line like for everybody else in case anybody or anything goes wrong. Like, he's putting himself on the line. And not only that, but like when he does fall in love, he is this very loyal man who's going to protect you and literally take a bullet for you if he has to. Like, that's just the type of guy that he is. So Zayden is definitely my number 2. Based on my choices, you might know who my number 1 is, but in case you don't, let me show you. Reese. He's my number 1. Like, I told my boyfriend, listen, like, if Reese existed, I would break up with you so fast. So fast. You would have never seen it coming. That sounds mean. I know that sounds mean, but like, my boyfriend, honestly, he laughs. It doesn't even get to him. He's just like, have your fantasies, Myra. That's fine. Like, he really doesn't even care. But, and it's actually funny. Okay, sorry, quick story. But my boyfriend's cousin's girlfriend also read ACOTAR a few months ago, I think. And when we were over in Hawaii in March, it came up because she happened to be wearing a Bad Boys t-shirt, and she even has like an ACOTAR tattoo. I'm like, dude, I've been wanting an ACOTAR tattoo and I haven't even gotten it. Anyway, so we were talking about it and I was like, oh my God, I'm like, seriously? Like, if Reese existed, like, goodbye to him. And she's like, oh, if any of the 3 of them existed, meaning Cassian, Azrael, or Reese, she's like, I would break up with him too. And like, she said that in front of her boyfriend, like right then and there. So anyway, it's all fun and games, okay? But Reese, if you know, you know. He is just top tier. I really don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't read it, but Reese, he's like anything that you could ever want and more. Like, literally, he's like, step on me, gut me, kill me, whatever. Just don't touch the woman that I love. Like, he does, yeah. Reese. I'm actually gonna be rereading this series because I want to like annotate everything, especially this book. Oh my God, I want to just like highlight and tab everything. But Reese, my number 1. Anyway, again, this is all fun and games. If you kind of want to see, this is kind of where I was like brainstorming. There's some people that didn't make it. Here's where I put my top 10. And here I was just like crossing them off as I was kind of figuring out my list. And I was just kind of going through my Goodreads. There's some that I didn't even write on here because I was like, you know what? Already with the people on here, I don't really think they have a chance. But there's a lot of really good honorable mentions there. Let me know who your book boyfriends are and why. Let me know if maybe we have any similar book boyfriend lists because I'm actually really curious to see. But thanks so much for tuning into this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.